Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys for Tuesday, March 6th, the new week on the horizon, and we're ready to tackle another week of shows here, talking NHL hockey from a betting perspective. Dana Lane joins me. We might have Alex and Andrew joining us momentarily as well, so I don't know. You might see some random faces just popping up here on your screen. So if that's the case, that's the explanation. But we're looking forward to this Tuesday card here. As always, a lot of games to break down. Let's get right to it. Montreal, New Jersey will kick it off for us at the top of the card, top of your betting rotation. 51, 52. And again, when I'm saying these numbers, I get people on Twitter asking me all the time. Because when I post plays on Twitter, I've got the rotation numbers posted next to them. And they ask me, what are those numbers? What are those numbers? And I'm like, how do you not know that? A. And B, they're the betting rotation numbers. It's just a better, easier way to help people identify the plays on the board so they're not, just scanning for the team name. You just, there's the number, and there you go. You got the game. So that's why I mentioned betting rotation numbers, just easily able to identify the game that way. But yeah, 51, 52 betting rotation number for this game, first one on the card, Montreal, New Jersey. New Jersey minus 165, minus 170, home favorite here. The total 5.5, about minus 115 to minus 120 in that range. In terms of the total, we got a Montreal team that, hey, I'll give them credit. They're battling right now. I don't know if it's going to mean a boatload of wins for this hockey team, but at least over the course of the last week, we've seen Montreal really pick up their, I don't know, their energy level's been a little bit better. The effort level's been admirable from this team. They're at least giving you an honest effort for a team well out of the playoff race. I mean, you go back and you look at Montreal's recent results. They've been pretty much in every game. I mean, shootout loss to Tampa, shootout loss to Philly. They beat the Islanders twice, and an overtime loss to Boston on Saturday night. Although they did get heavily outplayed in that game, that might be the best game I've seen Antti Niemi play this season, and maybe in quite some time. I mean, he was excellent. 50 shots faced against Boston, and only allowing two. The game winner on a tremendous individual effort from Brad Marchand on the overtime goal, just doing the old spinorama, going around and round in circles, and finally spun around in front of the net, got the shot through, and found a hole through Niemi to beat the Canadiens in overtime on Saturday, 2-1. So give Niemi credit. You know, he was great in that game. Does he have another good one in him here tonight against New Jersey? You would think Claude Julien goes back to him. Why would you not after the performance he had on Saturday? The Devils, meanwhile, they're in a free fall right now a little bit. They've lost 3 straight games. Offensively, really, it's Taylor Hall and who else at the moment for the New Jersey Devils. I mean, they need more secondary scoring. Where has where's Jesper Bratt gone? He was a guy that was really doing some things for them offensively earlier in the season. He's been shut down a little bit lately. Some of these secondary parts, for the New Jersey Devils have really started to shoot blanks offensively. I mean, they are leaning way too much. Taylor Hall has been phenomenal. I mean, you absolutely cannot say enough about what he's done for this New Jersey Devils team. It's a trade that has completely bitten the Edmonton Oilers in the ass. Adam Larson for Taylor Hall, that has completely blown up. Larson, A, hasn't played consistently. B, hasn't stayed healthy. And Edmonton again just makes a terrible decision in that regard, and definitely would want a mulligan if you're Peter Chiarelli in terms of that trade at the moment. Taylor Hall has been fantastic. He has collected at least a point in 25 straight games. When you go through that kind of streak, a point in 25 straight, that's remarkable. 18 goals and 18 assists for Taylor Hall during that 25 game point streak. Really incredible. He's absolutely lighting it up. But New Jersey's problem is, again, in the last 3 games, where is the secondary scoring gone for them? It hasn't been there. They got to pick it up. A lot of their other big guns have to start contributing a lot more and lending some assistance, you could say, to Taylor Hall and his offensive efforts. Yeah, defensively, they're playing well enough. Corey Schneider's back. That's going to help them in the long term. He hasn't played too poorly since returning from injury, but really it all comes down to you need some secondary options here to put the puck in the net. Patrick Maroon comes over late recently to this New Jersey team. He's a guy that you're hoping can chip in a little bit for you. Pavel Zacha is a guy that's struggled a little bit lately. Kyle Palmieri playing on that top unit with Hischier and Hall. Again, these are some of the names you point to here on this New Jersey team in terms of guys that you'd like to see hit the score sheet. Again, it seems like they're just a little too reliant right now on Taylor Hall, and eventually Taylor Hall is going to hit a wall. and get to a point where he's not going to be able to keep this kind of blazing hot offensive streak going forever. So New Jersey's going to have to look for options elsewhere to put the puck in the net. So it's an interesting one here in this game. I mean, New Jersey, they need a breakout performance. Will it happen here against this Montreal team? That remains to be seen. For me, it's a game I'm not going to be involved with too much side or total. Not really much of an opinion either way. Dana's involved, though, in this Montreal New Jersey game, one of the games on his card. Dana, Devils and Habs. I mean, Antti Niemi was remarkable Saturday. New Jersey just firing blanks offensively outside of Taylor Hall. In theory, that means Montreal might be able to hang around in this game, and they've been competitive lately. Can they be competitive again here tonight?
Well, Ian, as far as the goaltending is concerned, goaliepost.com, which is the site that I use mostly for goaltenders, has Charlie Lindgren as the probable goaltender tonight. So you'll know more, obviously, after morning skate. But as far as the total is concerned, this is where my focus is. I mean, I know it's been a bit since these since these guys have played before, but the last time that they played was in December. And if you look at that first period, there was a good pace to that. But right after the first period, the second and third period completely slowed down. It was like they were basically skating in mud. It was a 2-1 win for the Habs in that game. So, um, you know, I don't like to go back that far, but if I have to, I'd like to go back and see what the last game is. And of course, after the trade deadline, things have changed for a lot of people. But like you said, Ian, I just don't think that either one of these teams have enough offense to rely on. I don't know how you can bet any total over with either of these teams. And like you pointed out, I mean, they both have one line that's being productive at this point. Montreal's 29th in the league in scoring. New Jersey's 17th. We kind of think of New Jersey as a little bit better offensively, I think, than they actually are. And if you look in the last month, I'm looking at the numbers right now. If you look in the last month, I mean, Montreal pretty much has stayed where they have been. I mean, there has been zero improvement offensively, which is it's really hard not to do considering how low they are statistically. And for New Jersey, they've actually gotten worse over the last month. So if you take the season, which certainly wouldn't indicate that this game would go over, and certainly current form doesn't indicate that this game is going over. I just don't know. Neither of these teams have any depth scoring, and you got right now you got the Galchenyuk and Drouin and the Gallagher line for Montreal, Hall and Palmieri and Hischier, and Hischier's been kind of non-existent in his last 5 games as well. So really, it's Hall and Palmieri. Palmieri's chipped in a little bit, and Taylor Hall, like you said, has been going crazy. But I just don't. Outside of that, I don't know where the scoring is coming from. The Devils have played an under in 8 straight games, and under against the East has been. I mean, if you go historically, the numbers are overwhelming for when New Jersey plays an Eastern Conference team. So this is an under bet for me, and it's good because you get plus money at Bet Online and a few of these other places as well. So it's under 5.5 for me.
All right, under 5.5. Yeah, that makes some sense because Montreal, they couldn't really generate much against Boston on Saturday at all. Had to really hang on for that lead for the longest time. They really didn't do much to extend that lead. They just basically put themselves in a sit-back protective shell, let Boston fire away at them, and finally Bruins tied it late and ended up winning in overtime. So Dana's on the under 5.5 Montreal Jersey. We've got Winnipeg, New York Rangers. Next game 53-54. We got Winnipeg, a pretty hefty road favorite, minus 150. 6 is the total, about minus 115 to minus 120 right now. And from a Winnipeg Jets perspective, hey, this is a team playing very good hockey outside of a third period that went awry for them against the Nashville Predators. And again, losing to Nashville, there's no shame in that. They're a fantastic team. But outside of that, this has been really good work from the Winnipeg Jets for an extended period of time. They're 7-2 in their last 9 games. Look at some of the teams they've beaten during that time too. Washington, Florida, who's now red hot. We'll be talking about them later in the show. St. Louis, Dallas, The Nashville game was there for them. They were up 5-3 in that game. They lose at 6-5. And then of course they bounced back after that. They beat Detroit 4-3. They beat Carolina on the road 3-2. So there's some good wins that this Winnipeg team is registering. Jeez, it's just right on the edge of the cliff for me, this side here with Winnipeg in terms of the price I'm willing to lay here. If it comes down ever so slightly, I will absolutely go in on Winnipeg here. Even now, still lean that way here with the Winnipeg Jets. You got the New York Rangers, not only the inferior team in this game, but they're coming off, a Western Canadian road trip, first game back following that road trip. Although it was a very impressive road trip. New York Rangers, here they are selling parts at the deadline, looking like they're waving the white flag, looking like they're more concerned about the future and building prospects, picks, starting fresh rather than making a run at the playoffs here. And yet, what do? They go on the road inexplicably to Western Canada. They win 6-5 in Vancouver, 3-1 in Calgary, 3-2 in Edmonton, although they were heavily, and I mean heavily, outshot in all three of those games. Henrik Lundqvist and the Georgiev combination in net for the New York Rangers was absolutely terrific for them in net. Yeah, even this Alexander Georgiev, who's gotten some starts lately to offset Lundqvist, particularly on back-to-back nights, he's played really well for the New York Rangers. However, the Rangers are giving up way too many shots, way too many chances. You look at the Rangers still the last several games, last 9 games, 35, 33, 37, 41, 37, 34, 55, 51, 37 shots allowed. That's too much. Winnipeg's the kind of team that's going to pounce on that. So I'm actually going to go over this total here, 6 at -115 in this hockey game, Jets and Rangers, because I do believe the Jets are capable of feasting on horrific uh, teams defensively. I still think the Rangers are not good in their own end. They were sort of able to get away with it against a Vancouver team that offensively, they're okay. They're not great. Calgary can't put a puck in the ocean right now. Last night they finally got out of their shell a little bit. Calgary put some goals on the board, but Calgary's not been very good offensively as of late. Even Edmonton lately, not exactly lighting it up. So facing this Winnipeg team is going to be a little bit of a new challenge here for the New York Rangers and trying to shut them down. I mean, obviously they only allowed 1 goal to Calgary, 2 goals to Edmonton. They did allow 5 to Vancouver. I think they're going to be challenged here by this Winnipeg team. I mean, look at this Winnipeg team on the power play right now. They're absolutely lighting it up. Winnipeg has scored a power play goal now in 5 of their last 6 games. 6, actually, you can go back even further than that. They have scored at least 1 power play goal, the Jets, in 7 of their last 8 games. Very impressive with the man advantage. That's not going to spell well here for the Rangers. So to me, if this line trickles down just ever so slightly more, I can get a 40-45 price with Winnipeg instead of 50-55. I'll definitely get in on the Jets. But for now, stronger play to the over here in this game for me. Over 6 -115. This is also on Dana's card. Jets and Rangers. Dana, what do you like here?
Yeah, and that 150 range too, Ian. It's not. I'm not looking for a 150, 155. I need a one. I need a strong 150. I'm not looking to go over that, very much, as we talked about. Minus $1.50 is kind of our threshold, and I don't want to get involved in. I mean, I have 3 accounts. Okay, so the fact of the matter is, if it's a 150 game and it's a 155 and all 3 of those accounts, I'm not getting involved just because I can find a 150 somewhere. So it's got to be a strong 150 across the board for me. But as far as this game is concerned, I mean, obviously we're going to see what Ranger team we got. After the trade deadline, when we thought, hey, look, they're going to they're done, they're sellers, which they absolutely were. But there's sometimes when you get to a point where you're relaxed, the expectations are kind of off of you, then you start playing great hockey, and that's kind of what they've done. Again, like you said, they're not very good in their own end, but at least they're winning games. And don't look now, but they're only 5 points behind Columbus for the last playoff spot in the East, which would be if they made the playoffs. I mean, that's probably something nobody has expected them to do. But before we start getting excited about this team, let's remember they are going back to Madison Square Garden. forward, and usually that's a positive, but in this case, it might not be a positive because Henrik Lundqvist has been absolutely horrible on home ice, and ice surface that's horrible anyway. He's given up 20 goals in his last 5 home games, and so for me, it's I don't know what I'm going to get from Lundqvist. I don't really know what I'm going to get from the Rangers. Sometimes when you go on the road, you play better because there's no pressure. Go back to New York, and there's all kinds of pressure to play well, and sometimes your weaknesses are exploited, or brought to light. And I think their weakness definitely is on the defensive end. So and now you get a Lundqvist that's facing one of the best offensive teams in the league. I mean, certainly an elite offensive team, definitely an elite power play unit. So could I envision Winnipeg getting 4 or 5 goals tonight? Absolutely. So I think the Rangers do have enough offense to get us over that number. I think you're getting the Rangers' power play has been pretty good, so at least that's reliable. So I can envision the Rangers at least getting a couple goals to push this game over the total. But for me, it's minus $1.10 at 5 times, and I like this game to go over the total.
All right, so we got Dana and me both on the over here, Winnipeg and the New York Rangers. Yeah, to me, Winnipeg should be able to find the scoreboard. Like, basically, you're going to probably be able to count on Winnipeg scoring at least 3 goals in this game because that's
Well,
basically
you
what
can
they've done now in 9 straight. Yep,
you can count on the opportunities. That's for
yep,
sure. I mean, I'm
yeah,
not
for
going.
sure.
I never am going to go into a game hoping that both goaltenders stand on their heads, and in a game that I know that there is going to be 75 shots in. If I have two teams that I think they're going to have 70 to 75 shots, I am definitely going over the total regardless because I'm going to rely on those offensive opportunities a lot more than I'm going to rely on those goaltenders to stand on their heads.
Yeah, and some of these shot counts, I mean, out of those 75 shots that Dane is expecting, I mean, 55 of them could come from Winnipeg. I mean, look at 55, 51 given up 2 of the last 3 Rangers games, shots on goal. Way too much. And, they're very fortunate they played Vancouver, Calgary, some of these teams. And Calgary, to me, has been disappointing lately in terms of offense, although they did get Michael Furlan back last night. In that game against Pittsburgh, he's going to help out that top line because he had something going with them before he got hurt with Monahan and with Johnny Hockey Gaudreau. So you're going to want to watch that. But prior to that, Calgary, even offensively, had not done a whole lot. So this is going to be a tall order, I think, for this New York Rangers team tonight from a defensive perspective, trying to hold this Winnipeg team in check. I mean, everybody on Winnipeg's Patrick Laine is just blazing hot right now. He's been fantastic. He's been incredible for the Winnipeg Jets as of late. Lethal shot, one of the best releases in the NHL. Just quick release, accurate, puts it right in the spot where it's unstoppable for any goaltender. Definitely, you got a guy right now in Patrick Laine who's feeling it right now offensively for the Winnipeg Jets. And that's not even mentioning all the other players that can break your back offensively for this team, the Wheelers and the Littles and Scheifele and go on to, it's just offensively, they are as deep as it gets. They're right there with Toronto, Pittsburgh, teams like that in the NHL in terms of their depth of game breakers. At the offensive end of the ice, Winnipeg has them. So we expect some goals. Dana and I both liking the over there, Winnipeg and the New York Rangers. We've got Detroit, Boston, next game 55-56 on the rotation. We've got no line here. We've got Boston probably going to be very, very significant favorite. I would expect $2 range, if not higher, in this game for Boston, laying a hefty price at home, coming off a game they didn't play well, 2-1 Montreal win and win over Montreal in overtime. Kind of predictable. I mean, you absolutely light the lamp against Pittsburgh, an 8-4 game right before that. Sort of didn't leave enough goals in the cupboard, I guess you could say, in the game against Montreal. You used them all up against Pittsburgh, but still, Boston did just enough to slip past Montreal in overtime 2-1. The shots were there, the chances were there, but the finish was not there for the Boston Bruins. Of course, Boston still soldiering on recently without Patrice Bergeron, but have done so, in impressive fashion. Still found ways to win. That's got to be a positive sign. No doubt about it for Bruce Cassidy and this Bruins team. You're finding ways to still get the job done because we talked about it before on the shows last week that Obviously, Bergeron's that guy that is just absolutely all world in all situations for the Boston Bruins, scoring goals, winning key faceoffs, penalty killing, a defensive conscience that is second to none from a forward perspective. So all of that you miss without Patrice Bergeron on this Boston team, but still found ways to get the job done. They are starting the injuries though are starting to mount a little bit for Boston. You got to be a little bit concerned about that. Even though they've still managed to find ways to win without them. Charlie McAvoy gets injured in the game on the weekend against Montreal, lower body injury. He's already been ruled out of this game against the Detroit Red Wings, and that's a big loss. The way McAvoy's performed, the way he's breathed new life into this, some young legs, some creativity on the back end, pretty good in his own zone. Has given new life to a guy like Zdeno Chara as well, he's played with Chara a lot this season. There's also an injury to Tuukka Rask, who's battling a lower body injury. He's not likely to start in this game tonight, so you're looking at Anton Khudobin in between the pipes here for the Boston Bruins in this hockey game against the Detroit Red Wings. Not that they can't win this game still without all those guys. We're still talking about facing Detroit, who have lost 3 in a row. That post-trade deadline, we're not going anywhere. Malaise has really started to hit them a little bit. They lose to They lose on the road, though, to all quality teams. I mean, I will give them that. Not a bad loss in the mix. They lose at St. Louis, at Winnipeg, at Minnesota. 3 pretty decent to good Western Conference teams. No shame in that, but still, Detroit having trouble scoring goals. They've been held to 3 or less in each of those losses. Not generating enough offensive creativity, offensive production right now across all 4 lines, which have been a little scattershot lately. And playing in Boston's been a house of horrors for this team. 0-9 their last 9 trips to the TD Garden to face this Boston team. So I'm not really willing to say that's going to change tonight. But yeah, this is a game I won't be involved with. I don't trust Detroit. Boston obviously banged up, but even a banged up Boston team might still be able to hobble their way through this game and find a way to win at this point in time. So it's just sometimes you got to take a shot with a dog, but this is not one of those underdogs here with Detroit that I'm all that interested in tonight. We've got Vegas Columbus next up, 57-58. Vegas minus 115, total 6 shaded to the under, and now all of this hysteria, all this doom and gloom, and as things falling apart for the Vegas Golden Knights, we can shut the hell up about that now for one day. Enough. I mean, we talked about it after on the Saturday show after they lost to Ottawa. It was the 3rd straight loss for the Golden Knights. Calm down. They're going to be fine, okay? Everybody's going to have a couple of losses in a row. What do you know? They go on the road. They get away from all that, talk and all that nonsense. Come together as a team. That's what this road trip probably is going to do for the Golden Knights. And they play a really sound game, particularly in their own zone. Much better defensively. They cut down the turnovers, which killed them against Ottawa, which drove Gerard Gallant crazy in the postgame following that game, saying we turned the puck over, we weren't ready to play, we didn't compete hard enough. Well, they competed very well for themselves against New Jersey on Sunday. A nice bounce-back win to start this road trip for the Vegas Golden Knights. And now they face a Columbus team, and you got to believe Columbus is in a little bit of a tough spot here from a scheduling perspective, returning home from that West Coast road trip. It's always a tough ask, a tough spot, that very first game when you're coming back from that. So we'll see what Columbus is able to put together. But yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky situation. It's also their 4th game in 6 days here for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And by the way, if you're interested in stats, how did teams do in that spot? Because again, 4th game in 6 nights is always tricky. Where's the energy? Are your skating legs going to be there? Are you going to be alert? Because a lot of times physical fatigue can sometimes also mean mental fatigue. And does that mean mistakes? Well, Columbus, in their last 6 games on playing a 4th game in 6 nights, they're 1-5. So they've struggled in this spot, this fatigue type of spot. And Columbus is certainly, I think, in that right now. After the 3 games and 4 nights on the West Coast, now you're returning home, and you only have 1 day to go from the San Jose game on the Pacific time zone to readjust to the Eastern time zone now here in Columbus. and I cashed with Vegas on Sunday. I like that. I said that on the Saturday show. I was going to be looking at support Vegas in that game against New Jersey. I did, and I'm going to go back to that well again tonight. I think they're in a better spot. I know they're still a banged up hockey team, but they're fighting through it. Nate Schmidt, Oscar Lindberg, James Neal. We talked about one of the most underrated fourth-line players in the league, and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, a guy that the Vegas Golden Knights do miss a lot as well. However, having said all of that, they played a sturdy game defensively. It's the kind of against New Jersey. It's the kind of game that's going to serve them well for success if they keep it up here on this road trip. And Marc-Andre Fleury had a strong game in net after a couple of tough games, although the team didn't exactly play lights out in front of him by any stretch, so he can't be blamed on his own for those two performances. But it was a good bounce back. I think they have the better of it here from a scheduling perspective than Columbus, and I think they have the potential to get the job done again. So I'll go in on Vegas here at a nice cheap -110. I can get that at Heritage Sports in this game, so I'll be looking at the Golden Knights one more time here on this road trip. I really do think this road trip's got the potential to rally the troops, bring this team together, have them more focused, ready to go, play better hockey in all three zones. We saw signs of that against New Jersey, and I think we'll see signs of that here. So I'll look toward the Golden Knights one more time. Florida, Tampa Bay, 59-60. We've got Tampa -185, home favorites here. The total 6 shaded to the over, about -115, -120. And again, I've had some real tough luck with some underdogs lately. I really, really have. I mean, the Philadelphia game looked like it was there for the taking on Saturday against this Tampa team. Tampa roars back and wins it. Very disappointing result there. I have 2 big-time underdogs last night in Calgary and Arizona. Both of them lose in overtime. That's the way it's been going lately right now with these underdogs. Take a shot, and it's not panning out well. However, I'm going to try one more time here. Florida's playing fantastic. Not just good. They're playing fantastic. Roberto Luongo, not just playing good. He's playing fantastic right now. You put all of these elements together, and I'm willing to take a shot with that combination right now at +165 in this hockey game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, who again are winning, but they're not winning impressively right now. They're not. They're giving up goals. They're giving up chances. Vasilevsky's looked a little human finally the last few games. This is a winnable hockey game for Florida. My one concern here with Florida is all of these wins that they've racked up during this terrific streak where they've played so well. They've been at home. They've not been a very, very good road team this season, and that's putting it mildly. So that is a little bit of a area of trepidation I have placing this bet here, but you get a team that's playing sturdier defensively right now than Tampa is. That's the honest truth. Florida's actually done a better job at that end of the ice, keeping the puck out lately than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay will figure it out. I know Tampa Bay's looked a little bit not quite 100% right. They haven't looked like they've brought in their A game recently, but I'm still okay with this team long term. They're still right there as a true cup contender. They can win it all, no question. I still think I would favor them in the East. But it's just they're going through one of these stretches right now where not everything is clicking at the right time, whereas it is for Florida. And I can get a team that's playing, I think, a little bit sturdier in the defensive zone right now. Just as of late, Florida's been doing that. And you got Roberto Luongo right now, who's in a zone, who's playing every bit as well at the moment as any goalie in the league since he's returned, particularly as of late. And you got a team that's feeling it right now. Everybody's like, how about Dadonov for this Florida team? How on fire is this guy right now? Unbelievable. Evgeny Dadonov, he's basically finding the score sheet every single night for this hockey team. He's been really lighting the lamp left and right. Scoring goals for the Florida Panthers. Jonathan Huberdeau's in good form right now. Barkov's been Mr. Consistent all season long. So they've got their big guns clicking right now and firing and getting on the scoreboard nightly for this Florida team. So you got Yandel and Ekblad playing like beasts at the back end. Great hockey for this team. Their top defensive pair. We know Luongo has been great. So yeah, Florida +165. I mean, Tampa could have easily lost that game Saturday against Philadelphia. They did not play well. Managed to survive it. They may not survive it tonight, and I'm willing to take a shot. +165 on the Florida Panthers, who are red hot, who are now in a playoff spot and looking to maintain that spot tonight against Tampa. Probably one of the better games on the board tonight for sure. I'm looking forward to that one. But I'm going to take a shot with what I think's a live dog there with the Florida Panthers. We got Carolina, Minnesota, 61-62. Minnesota -160, laying a hefty price at home. The total 5.5 shaded to the under. Carolina Hurricanes falling just short 3-2 against the Winnipeg Jets in their last game. No shame in that. Obviously, we know how good Winnipeg is. I will say this about Carolina. Since they got Jordan Staal back, of course, Jordan Staal returned recently following just a horrific tragedy involving the death of his infant daughter. There's been an energy boost in this Carolina team. It's like they've been energized. It's basically bolstered them. They've come together as a team more, and because of their captain and the plight he's gone through personally during this time. Their effort level's been outstanding since they got him back. They got him back against Philly on the road. They beat the Flyers 4-1, who were red hot at the time. They beat New Jersey in their next game 3-1. And against Winnipeg, they outplayed Winnipeg for parts of that game. Fell just short. Hellebuck in net was fantastic. And they lose 3-2 in that game. So this has been 3 really good games in a row for the Carolina Hurricanes since the return of Jordan Staal on this hockey team, which is very, very good to see. And Carolina, a team that is trying to make their own playoff push as well, right there in the mix at the moment. See if they can give Minnesota some trouble tonight. Minnesota, a team that beat Detroit 4-1 on Sunday night, snapping a 2-game losing streak. Both of those losses on the road at Colorado and Arizona. But, at home, we know how good this team has been this season. They're a better home team than road team. We've said that on multiple occasions. 23-11 for the Minnesota Wild at home this season compared to just 14-18 on the road. So tells you all you need to know. XL Energy Center's been where Minnesota's been racking up the W's here in this hockey game. I'll be honest, I was tempted by Carolina here, but I'm not going to because you got to show me you can beat a good, really good Western Conference team. They didn't do that against Winnipeg, and that was at home. The Pittsburgh pounded them. I mean, they've suffered some tough, some losses when they've stepped up and clashed Boston. A good effort against Boston, but they didn't beat them at the end. You got to show me you can beat a quality team, and the effort's been there against those quality teams, but the W's have not been there. So I was tempted by Carolina to take a look because I like the energy they've shown in 3 games since their captain came back, but I stayed away from it. Lean Carolina, but did not pull the trigger against this Minnesota team who have been very, very good at home. 3 straight home wins entering this game tonight. Dallas, Nashville, 63-64 on the rotation. Nashville minus 170, total 5.5, shaded to the under at minus 115. This is a underdog play for me in this game that doesn't make sense. Why would you do this? Nashville's red hot right now, feeling it. Absolutely outstanding, amazing road trip here that they had. But I've seen this movie and this script, and maybe Nashville's too damn good right now. Maybe they're just immune to this, and I'll be dead wrong. But I'm gonna go ahead with Dallas here anyway tonight at plus 150, even though they're on the second night of back-to-backs. Nashville just had an epic road trip of epic proportions, really, just now that they completed. 4-game road trip, 3 games in Western Canada, and ended in Colorado. They swept all 4 games, 4-0, beat Winnipeg 6-5, beat Edmonton 4-2, beat Vancouver and Colorado in overtime. But look at the scheduling that took place during these games. These were all close games. These were all hard-fought games, 1-goal games in 3 of them. You play, and the latter 3 games of this trip, Edmonton, Vancouver, Colorado, was a 3-game and 4-night on the road. You change time zones. You change venue between games. Edmonton, Mountain Time Zone, Vancouver, Pacific Time Zone, Colorado in the altitude, back to the Mountain Time Zone. You pull out a 4-3 win. Not their best game, but they found a way. All that travel, all the time zone change, playing in the thin air in Colorado Sunday. Now you're going back home for this first game home off just a incredible road trip with thrilling victories where you went 4-0. This has lay an egg spot written all over it. Just based on hockey handicapping or NBA handicapping 101, any of those 2 leagues when you look at something like this. This is a team that had a fantastic road trip, but lots of travel in a condensed period of time. Now back home after just a more than happy road with the results of that road trip, Nashville. This has it has flat spot written all over it. It really does. Even though this is a divisional game, in theory it shouldn't. I think it's a physically flat spot for the Nashville Predators. Maybe not mentally, because Dallas is a division rival. You should be up for it. But I think mentally, this could be a flat or physically, this could be a flat spot here for the Nashville Predators tonight. and it's a big-time price you got to lay. Dallas is on the second night of back-to-backs. I understand that. They lost at home to the Ottawa Senators. Nobody in the world, nobody in their right mind is going to want to bet bet Dallas in this game tonight, following that 3-2 home loss to the Ottawa Senators last night. But Dallas does have a winning mark on the second night of back-to-backs this season, 5-3. That's something you can go to, you can at least feel a little bit comfortable with here with Dallas. And I think you're going to get a response from them following that loss tonight. They have been actually good their last few tries off a loss. I mean, they are actually 3-0 off a loss their last 3 games off a defeat. So that's another thing going in Dallas's favor. It's difficult for me to ever say with a straight face, hey, you should put your money against Nashville. Go ahead, do it. Because they're fantastic. I mean, they are. They're an incredible hockey team. They had an amazing road trip, no doubt about it. And they've been able to win these games too as well. Remember, Roman Josi did not play, I believe, either of the last 2 games of that road trip, the Vancouver game and the Colorado game. Did not play either of those 2 games for Nashville, and they still won without him. He is questionable, by the way. Roman Josi, obviously, the leader on that back end for the Nashville Predators, upper body injury, may or may not play tonight against Dallas. Either way, going to go ahead with the Stars because this is like that old NBA and NHL handicapping 1-on-1 type of strategy here for me. You bet against the team that's had that great, successful, long road trip in that first game back home. That's what I'll be looking to do here. May work out, may not work out, because we know Nashville has shown previously they can find ways to win games even in tough spots. They've done it before. They did it against Colorado. That was a tough spot. Thin air. Third game on the road in 4 nights. It's a situation where they found a way to win still. They might do so tonight, but I'm willing to take a shot here with Dallas here, who's again been very erratic, very inconsistent lately, not playing to the level that I think Ken Hitchcock's team is capable of. But I think they got it in them to maybe pull a little bit of a stunner here tonight in Music City at plus 150. I'm willing to take a shot. Give me the Dallas Stars. We'll see if they can pull an upset here against the Nashville Predators. Colorado, Chicago, 65-66 on the rotation. Doesn't look like Alex and Andrew are joining us, so that's okay. We'll hopefully have them back on Thursday's show. No line here with Colorado and Chicago for this hockey game as of right now. Colorado is a team I'm absolutely interested in backing here in this game, but we'll have to wait and see where this line comes out. Chicago, I don't know how Chicago came back and beat LA. It's one of those head scratchers. They're trailing in the third period in that game. They roar back and win 5-3, and then they follow that up and predictably lay an egg against Anaheim in the game after that on Sunday following that LA victory. Now they're on another tough spot. There's a lot of teams in these weird spots. They're coming back home off a Western road trip. How many teams are doing that? Chicago's doing that. Nashville's doing that. Columbus is doing that. A lot of teams coming off that West road trip and returning home tonight. So these are all tricky spots for all of these teams. Columbus, Nashville, and Chicago tonight against Colorado. So very simple. Colorado's the better team right now. They got a lot more to play for than Chicago right now. They're probably in the better spot right now, scheduling-wise, with Chicago returning home off that road trip. So we'll look toward Colorado. I can't confirm it for sure yet. We have no line to work with, but absolutely we'll be looking to make a case here to bet the Colorado Avalanche tonight in this game against the Chicago Blackhawks. And we wrap up with our final game on the card. Thank God it's on Dana's card this game so he can finally talk. Washington against Anaheim. Anaheim minus 135. Total 5.5 pretty much across the board. Washington off a good performance, 5-2 in that special outdoor game in Annapolis, Maryland in the Navy Football Stadium, Memorial Stadium there. Toronto looked like they were happy to be there, having fun. The young kids were taking in and soaking up the atmosphere that night in the outdoor venue. Washington looked like they were coming to play and win a hockey game. There was a big difference between those two teams just in terms of focus, intensity. Toronto didn't look like they had their heads in the clouds in that game. Had a terrible start, never were able to recover. Give Washington credit, played a good game. We'll see if they could take it with them on the road, where Washington's been a little bit more erratic. Home to road performances, that's been a little bit of an issue for them. I got to see more out of Washington here. I've not been very high on this team for the longest time. I need to see consistency from them game to game, and I've simply not seen that for the better part of the last 2-3 weeks. We'll see if they can string two good performances in a row together against quality foes here tonight on the road against the Anaheim Ducks. For me, I don't think it's going to be a situation where it's a game I'm going to have too much involvement in, because I think Anaheim is a team that certainly has a chance to really have a good stretch run here down the stretch, because they're as healthy as they've been. They played better. John Gibson, the whole bit. Everybody's ready to go for this team. So for me, I'm not going to be involved. Dana is, though, with this Capitals Ducks team. There he is. He's waving his hand. He's ready to go. Washington, Anaheim. This is his third game on the card for this Tuesday slate. Ducks and Capitals. Dana, take it away. What you got?
You okay, Ian? How's the voice?
I'm good. My voice is fine. Actually, hasn't
You are
changed a bit.
good. I
Yeah.
mean,
Amazing.
you're a machine, man. You're like a wind-up host. You're amazing. Go get some water or something.
Energizer Bunny. He just keeps on
I,
going, going and going. Yeah.
I will at least be a good 15 seconds on this. Anyway, hey, look. I argue with people all the time about this Ducks team, and I understand it because it's funny because when you talk to old school people, they want physicality. They still think that this is how you win Stanley Cups, and that may be how you win the West, but I'm not sure that that's how you win Stanley Cups. And yes, the Ducks are physical, and the Kings are physical, and Vegas got more physical with Ryan Reeves, but the fact of the matter is, I still, and it is a broken record with this Duck team. I still have no idea where the scoring is coming from. I don't know where it's coming from on a nightly basis. I don't know where it's coming from in the playoffs. And I just, when you're facing the Washington Capitals, I know exactly where the scoring is coming from in this game. And now you're going to give me the Caps at a $1.25 at 5 times. I have no problem taking the Capitals team that has been there for a couple days. They're settled in. It's not like they just got there last night. They're settled in, and they're playing the first game of the Western road trip, which they should be absolutely fresh. I mean, or at their freshest point. So I have no problem putting a or supporting the Capitals tonight. I love this where this team is right now. We saw during the Stadium Series we had 5 different players score goals, and look, guys. I mean, this is going to be maybe the year where Washington makes some noise in the postseason because nobody is expecting them, or even since last season, nobody expected the Washington Capitals to do as well as they've done this season. I think even Barry Trotz at one point was, he didn't really think. At one point, when they were talking about maybe it would be better without Ovechkin, I didn't really hear Barry Trotz coming to Ovechkin's rescue. So I think uh, there was much clamoring for moving parts in Washington, which they did get, and of course, Ovechkin is still there. But I really like where this team is at right now, and like I said before, um, I struggle to find where the Ducks' offense is coming from, especially in enough to overcome the Capitals, whose top two lines have been absolutely fantastic. So give me the Capitals tonight and a plus price against the Ducks.
All right, Washington as a slight road underdog, plus 115. It is that first game of the road trip spot's usually a good bet on spot for a lot of teams. We'll see if it is tonight for the Washington Capitals as they take on the Anaheim Ducks. They've had time, obviously, as Dana mentioned, Saturday to Tuesday following the outdoor game. Saturday night, get to the Pacific time zone, get acclimated to the time change. So not terrible in that regard, and we'll see. I mean, this is a game where if Washington is going to make me more of a believer. Go out on the road, have a good road trip against some of these Western teams, these West Coast teams that you always play it tough when they host them. So that's going to go a long way for me to try to change my opinion. Because right now, I don't have Washington as a legit threat in the Eastern Conference playoffs. I don't. I've got Pittsburgh in there, Tampa in there, Boston. Washington still, to me, I've seen that movie too many times with them. Of coming up short in the postseason. But you got to be able to go out, beat teams like this to maybe give me a hope that you can do things differently in the playoffs this year. We'll see if they're able to do that here tonight
Hey,
against the
you know
Anaheim
what,
Ducks.
Ian?
Yep.
Darth Vader always comes up short too, but nobody wants to face him. And to say that Washington is not a legitimate threat. I mean, I'm not. Listen, I don't have them high in my power rankings either. But does anybody really want to play them? I mean, it's anytime you. I don't want to play any team with Ovechkin on it for sure. And now Kuznetsov is starting to play well. I mean, and we know what we potentially could get out of Holtby. I mean, you could you can say all you want that they're not a legitimate contender and they're probably not to win the cup, but I don't know anybody that's going to raise their hand if they say who wants to play the Capitals in the first round.
Yeah, I don't like the defense still. I mean, I really don't. I mean, Carlson's great. I'll take him on my team. And Orpik now to me is making too many blunders. Christian Juice still a young guy. Michael Kempney, I don't understand why they picked him up and threw him on a top four defensive pair for this Washington team. He's been a turnover machine since they've gotten him. I haven't liked what I've seen from him. He was actually responsible for one of the Toronto goals on the game on Saturday night. So that blue line leaves a lot to be desired. You got to love Ovechkin, obviously Backstrom. Jacob Vrana. Can they get him going? There was a time Jacob Vrana was scoring some goals for this Washington team earlier in the season. He's been quiet. Oshie's got to find a way to get things going again. He's had a little bit of a tough season. I don't know. Are you going to get something offensively from these bottom two lines? Is my issue come playoff time. When Tampa can roll out third and fourth lines that can score. Pittsburgh can roll out third and fourth lines that can score. Toronto can. Boston even can. Washington, can they do that? That's going to be the question mark. Can your Chandler Stevensons and your Brett Connollys and your Beagles and Lars Eller be able to fire goals in the back of the net for you routinely? That's going to be the question. Depth of forward and a couple of parts of that blue line are a little bit of a concern for me with Washington. Never say never. I mean, they've got the coach to do it. Do they have that mindset to do it, though? Because, again, it's like a mental block, too, that Washington's got to overcome as much as anything they have to do physically on the ice. The mental block of repeated playoff shortcomings, playoff failures. We'll see if they will have another chance to right those wrongs this year, see if they can make good on it. Best bets to wrap up the show for this Tuesday card. Looks like it's just going to be two best bets because Andrew and Alex have not sent one along to me, so it'll just be Dana and I with best bets. Dana, best bet for you on Tuesday. What do you got for us?
Yeah, when you don't like the card, you just don't show up. I mean, that's
Yeah,
basically
that's the
it. I
new
mean,
rule. Yeah, yeah. If I don't
yeah,
like the games, that's it. I'm out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's Winnipeg and the Rangers over the 6 for me. I need to see Lundqvist play better at home, and now he's playing, a fantastic offensive team, fantastic on the power play unit. And again, we talked about when we're talking about totals, what's the first thing that you do as a handicapper? And for me, it's just looking at power play units. And yes, the Rangers are not very good offensively, but they are they are with the extra man. And of course, we know that Winnipeg is 5-on-5 and with the extra man. So, to me, I think you're going to see a lot of shots in this game. I think you're going to see somewhere in the 35 range, maybe 37, 38 range. And again, I'm going to take offensive opportunities before I'm going to sit and cross my fingers that goaltenders will play above average.
All right. So for Dano, he's taken Winnipeg and the New York Rangers over 6. That's also one of my bets, but it's not best bet. I'm going with the Vegas Golden Knights minus 110 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Again, I like that I love Vegas getting this road trip when they got it, because everybody's starting to throw stones at this team. Oh, you're falling apart. Now you're starting to look like the team we thought. And they just start the road trip with one of their best complete efforts of the season. I'm talking about at both ends of the ice, because it was defensively where this team lost their way a bit last week. They got it back against New Jersey, and they catch Columbus again, one of many teams tonight in these tricky fourth game in 6 nights type of travel situations, returning home off a road trip. And again, Columbus 1-5 their last 6 tries, playing the fourth game of 6 nights, which they'll be doing here. Give me Vegas here minus 110, nice price. That'll be my best bet. Golden Knights. Best bet for me on this Tuesday card. That's going to wrap up the show. Thanks to everyone for joining us on this Tuesday card. We'll have to hope that the entire gang is back with us, Andrew and Alex as well, for our next show on Thursday. We'll be back then at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for another edition of the NHL Ice Guys. For Dana Lane, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Thanks for listening to me talk for as long as I did. I really appreciate that, because a lot of people don't love hearing my voice that long. Hey, sometimes I don't like hearing my voice for that long, but thank you anyway. We'll be back on Thursday with another edition of the NHL Ice Guys. Enjoy the Tuesday night card. We'll see you again on Thursday.